Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the West Covina City Council meeting of March 18th to order. We will begin with our invocation led by Pastor Samuel Martinez from the Christian Faith Center, and our Pledge of Allegiance will follow by Councilmember Fred Sykes. Please rise.
As we gather here this evening, we thank you for the freedoms that we so proudly enjoy in our country. So first of all, we pray for our American servicemen, Father, domestic and abroad, that are protecting the freedoms that we're enjoying here this evening. Father, we remember the words of the Apostle Paul to pray for all that are in authority. So I pray, Father, for all the elected and appointed officials in our city, that wisdom and insight be imparted unto them. And Father, I bless our city. Father, I speak, Father, our neighborhoods crime-free, our schools safe havens, Father, and I speak prosperity upon our businesses and peace in our homes. Now, Father, I bless our city according to your word. The Lord bless you and keep you, West Covina. The Lord make his face shine upon you, lift up his countenance upon you, and grant you peace, shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our nation. With your right hand over your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. City Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Herford.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
Here.
Councilman Spence.
Here.
Councilmember Toma.
Here.
Councilmember Warshaw.
Here. We were in closed session prior to coming into open session. City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We met in closed session with the City Council and the successor agency regarding two items. The first was a combination of three litigation cases. Los Angeles Superior Court case number KC 048157, which is entitled City of West Covina versus Haas and Imports Partnership. The other two are federal bankruptcy court cases, Haas and Imports Partnership debtor, United States Bankruptcy Court, and there's two cases there. We met with Special Counsel Steve Owens and discussed various strategies regarding the litigation, including potential settlements. There was no reportable action taken. On the other item, we ran out of time, and that item was not discussed. We are going to discuss that matter after the open session. We will go back into closed session later this evening, and at that time, when we finish, we will report out any reportable action at that time.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. City Manager, do we have any changes to the agenda tonight?
No changes to the agenda tonight.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few presentations. The first one is from the gas company. I'd like to call forward Bob Cruz of Southern California Gas Company, Public Affairs Manager. He's going to do a brief presentation on the new advanced gas meters being installed in the community.
Mayor Herford, members of the City Council, staff, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob Cruz, the Gas Company, Public Affairs Manager, and I'm going to introduce kind of the person who's going to give you the update on our advanced meter project. But I just want to give you kind of a little story in terms of we work in about 247 cities in our service territory. And basically, this project is pretty monumental for the gas company. It's our version of the advanced meter, or the smart meter, which a lot of the other, we're the last utility to put this technology in place. But working with your staff in terms of, locations for our data collection units, getting our network up, they were very easy to work with. They asked hard questions. We went out and visited and worked with them in terms of the site locations for the poles that the new poles we'd be installing. But I just want to give you basically that perspective that it was very easy to work with staff in the city, and I appreciate that because in some cities it can be a little bit more difficult. This city understands, they're very open, and again, they ask tough questions when they have to, but very easy to work with. At this time, if I could, I'd like to turn it over to Raul Gordillo, who'll give you the actual update numbers of where we're at in terms of the advanced meter project. So Raul Gordillo.
Thank you. If you would like a handheld microphone, we can get that for you, whatever your preference.
That's okay. You might start singing, so you don't want to.
Good evening. My name is Raul Gordillo, Community Outreach Manager for Southern California Gas Company's Advanced Meter Project. And so far, we've installed about 1.3 million advanced meters throughout our service territory. And this is a 5-year project that we're implementing. And here in the city of West Covina, we've already installed. Some of your residents have already received a letter in the mail letting them know that this communication device is going to be installed. And I'll give you just very briefly, the communication device is really what it does. It's a one-way communication feed where the customer or the resident will be able to go online and see their consumption next day rather than wait until the end of the month to see what they consumed the previous month. So they'll be available, that information, data will be available to them next day. Another great thing about the meter is that we're the only utility, investor-owned utility, using our own employees. So a lot of questions that we get asked is, so what's going to happen to your meter reading staff, right? We're not laying off anybody. We've actually trained our meter reading staff to do the actual installations. So it's a great deal for our employees to move around the company. Within a year, they're able to get seniority and move around the company. So far, we've, I think, installed about 2,000 here in the city of West Covina. We'll be out here installing until September. We have about 26,000 that we're going to be installing here in the city of West Covina. And one thing I want to add really quickly is the city of West Covina and also the Greater West Covina Business Association has been a great partner with the gas company in getting the word out about the project and making sure that our residents know exactly what we're doing prior to the actual installation of the advanced meter. And we're also partnered with another community-based organization, the East San Gabriel Valley Japanese Community Center as well. So we're partnering just to do the outreach prior to the installation. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Bob Cruz, any concerns that you may have.
Okay, one question, because we do hear about people impersonating utility workers. Would this be done by strictly gas company employees?
That is correct. Yeah, we're not contracting out the work. It's we're not going to a third party. So when you see the gas company truck, you will see a gas employee do the actual installation.
Okay, good. So if anybody's contacted by somebody else, that's
that is correct.
They should call.
Because they should call the gas company
The other thing we
or the
do
city.
there is the residents are getting letters.
You want to talk to the mic?
Okay. The residents have received letters, but we went proactively and sent the copy of those letters to city staff, police, and fire, because we know that when residents see activity, especially a lot of gas company trucks, they might assume there's a problem. We wanted your staff and police to know that it's a project, it's advanced meter, so we've taken that extra step.
Okay, great. Will you have like a map of the areas you're doing that you'll submit to the city, or will we be involved in knowing kind of where you're going to be?
Well, pretty much, pretty much we've worked with staff, your public works staff, in terms of they should know pretty much if they need additional information, we can provide that at any notice that they want. But for the most part, we're pretty good about letting the residents know, so they know that hopefully somebody will be home if we can gain access. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to change it out. But if there's nobody home, we'll leave a door hanger and make an appointment for them to come back. But if at any time staff needs to know, hey, can you give us an idea of where you're at, what areas, we can certainly provide that.
Okay, great. Thanks. Councilmember Warshaw.
Mr. Mayor, if the resident isn't home but the meter is available, will they just automatically put it on?
Yes.
Okay, and how about the business community? What's happening? They're having theirs done at the same time and in the same format?
That is correct. The small business owners, also local residents, will be receiving an advanced meter. And we do respect customer choice. I do want to add that. So customers that do not want the actual advanced meter installed, they do have the option of opting out of the program. But they are put in a deferral list until, because there is going to be a fee for a resident for a manual read, meaning having a meter reader go out to the actual home and do the manual read. But for now, we've received a very, very low number of folks that have decided to opt out of the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call forward Ben Wong, the local public affairs manager for Southern California Edison. Mr. Wong will introduce some other dignitaries that are present and going to present us with the Energy Efficiency Award. So,
yes.
Councilman Wong.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members, city staff, and residents of West Covina. We are here this evening seemingly a cast of thousands. I'll introduce them in a moment. To recognize the City of West Covina and to present to the city the Beacons Spotlight Award for local leadership towards solving climate change. The Beacon Award is a statewide program recognizing California cities and counties that are working to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, save energy, and adopt policies and programs that promote sustainability. The Beacon name was chosen because by shining a bright light on the city's accomplishments, it is hoped that the residents, businesses, and other municipalities will follow West Covina's lead. Among the climate action activities that the city has undertaken or accomplished are the following. You're a Tree City USA. You have a climate action plan that you're working on in process. You've adopted an energy action plan back in September of 2011. You're an active and very significant member of the San Gabriel Valley Energy Wise Partnership. You sponsor 5 Weeks of Green, an annual event which encourages residents to take advantage of cleanup and waste reduction programs. You established the city's youth CRV beverage container recycling program to increase public awareness and encourage residents to recycle. You established a community clean air program aimed at reducing air pollution through the promotion of ride sharing, use of alternative forms of transportation such as bus, Metrolink, trains, etc., the use of alternative fuel vehicles and other clean engine technologies. You also provide free used oil recycling kits to West Covina residents. The Beacon Award is sponsored by the Institute for Local Government and the statewide Energy Efficiency Collaborative. The collaborative is an alliance of California's 4 investor-owned utilities, PG&E to the north, San Diego Gas and Electric to the south, and here locally, of course, Southern California Gas Company and Southern California Edison, as well as 3 statewide nonprofit organizations, ICLEI, which is an acronym known as the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, the Local Government Commission, and of course the Institute for Local Government, which is the research and educational affiliate of the League of California Cities and the California State Association of Counties. Joining me this evening is the Honorable Dennis Bertone, San Dimas Council Member and Chair of the San Gabriel Valley COG's Energy, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee. He's got an additional recognition from the COG that he's going to present. With him is Stephanie Hernandez, Project Assistant with the COG, Bob Cruz, who you heard from earlier. Bob's sitting down. Get up here, Bob. With Southern California Gas Company. Paulo Moraes, who is with the gas company's energy program supervisor. I've got Matt Garcia with Southern California Energy Edison. He's manager of our local government accounts management team in our business customer division. And of course, I'm Ben Wong, local public affairs region manager for Edison. And from 2004 to 2009, I had the honor of serving on the Institute for Local Government's board. So, Dennis.
Well, thank you, Mayor and council members and the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually a big deal, energy conservation. And as Ben said, I'm on the City Council of the City of San Dimas and also chair of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments Energy and Environmental Committee. The City of West Covina has long been a leader in the Energy Wise Partnership. The city was the first in the region to reach gold level in energy, the first city in our entire region. And the Energy Leader Partnership, you won awards in 2011, and the first city in the San Gabriel Valley, as well as the first city in the entire Southern California Edison region to reach platinum. So you're the only city in the San Gabriel Valley that had reached the platinum level. We're trying to follow you in San Dimas. We're at the silver, and hopefully we'll get to the gold, and someday we'll be able to get to the platinum. But you're the first city to reach this level. The city of West Covina has used a holistic approach to undertaking large and small projects. Certain things, as you're aware of, but the audience should be aware of, is you include window film installation on the City Hall, LED traffic lamp retrofits, HVAC retrofits in the City Hall and Police Station, cool roof project in the Senior Center, and outdoor lighting projects, and you've made it so that your computers, when they're not in use, are turned off. Since the year 2005, the city has reduced electricity uses by 1 million kilowatts hours. That's amazing. You saved over $230,000. And as far as your entire city goes, you've cut energy consumption by 22%. That's just amazing. The city has received a lot of awards, and you will continue to receive awards because I think we have to thank the leadership of the City Council, and you have a fantastic staff. Without the combined work of the staff and the City Council. Now, I think it may help that Shannon there lives in San Dimas, so maybe a little bit that'll rub off on us. Get a plug in there for you. Okay, so I would like to thank you and present you with this award. And this is from the San Gabriel Valley Energy Wise Partnership Certificate of Recognition. And I think you have a plaque also.
Yeah, we do.
You'll notice that ours is much bigger than theirs.
Okay, we want to get a picture here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. We'll do both of these
Okay.
together.
Can you hold two? Okay. Thank you. I just want to say, on behalf of the COG, we would also like to thank Edison and the gas company for their participation, because without their cooperation, we certainly couldn't do this. And this is really showing that the industry is working with the cities, and the cities is working with industry. Not only are we saving money, but we're helping protect the environment. Thank you very much.
Let me jump in before you leave, Dennis. I want to just thank you for your leadership. I would say that 99% of this award goes to our staff. We may say participate in the program and things like that, but and they bring us projects for approval. But Shannon and his staff and our city manager, I want to give a lot of credit to them for this. And we are proud to be a platinum member, platinum award recipient.
So the first?
Yes, thank
Did I
you.
say?
We love being first. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, I've got Paulo with the gas company. I'd like to say a few words.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. It's a pleasure to be here to share in this great evening, receiving this award. Southern California Gas Company joined the partnership with the San Gabriel Valley COG last year in 2013. But I had actually been following some of your accomplishments here for quite some time before that, because up until just recently I was actually a resident of West Covina. So I was always particularly proud when I would read in the newsletters, you know, some of the things that you were doing. And as I said, took great pride in seeing you reach this achievement, which as Councilmember Bertone has mentioned, it's really quite an accomplishment. There's only a handful of cities across the state that are really taking this type of aggressive action, and so you're really to be commended for everything that you've done. And so it's great to be part of the partnership with the San Gabriel Valley COG, and obviously a great pleasure to see the city of West Covina reach this milestone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo. And I think the great thing that we can say is that we have a lot more we can do, so we're not going to stop here. So we'll continue to use energy efficiency to improve the taxpayers' liability here in the city. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank all of you. Any comments? Anybody?
I just want to thank staff who turned on the air conditioning during that presentation. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but anyways, thank you.
Okay, that was great. We will put those up in our community room for everybody to see. Next item on the agenda, we move to oral communications. If you're new to the council meeting, we allot 5 minutes for each speaker. You don't have to take all 5 minutes. We ask you to be concise and to the point if you can. Tonight we have a couple items that are pretty hefty on the, or actually one item, the rental housing ordinance. It has a lot of speakers tonight. So what I would like to do is we have another item on the agenda, which is for a Human Resources Commissioner appointment. And we have the 4 candidates here, so I'm going to start with those 4, and then we'll go into the housing, rental housing ordinance. So these are just these 4 candidates. I haven't met them, so we're going to have them come up and just introduce themselves to the council and maybe say a few words. So Jill Quezada, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Jill Quezada, and I do reside here in West Covina. I am a candidate for the Human Resources Commission position. I have served other city boards and committees in the past, and I really enjoy moving to West Covina and enjoy serving the community. That's one of my true passions. I would like to bring my experience and my motivation to West Covina, and I would appreciate your consideration for my appointment to the Human Resources Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quezada. Appreciate that. Armida, I'm sorry, were there any questions I should ask the council? No? Okay. Armida Espinoza.
Hello, Mayor, City Council, staff, and residents. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Armida Espinoza. I'm a homeowner here in West Covina. My kids started preschool in West Covina and are now in 4th and 7th grade at Cameron and Hollandcrest. It's been a joy having my kids involved in West Covina sports, where I've served as team mom for every sport under the sun. I'm a University of Laverne graduate and a member of St. Christopher Parish. My professional background is in both private and public sector. My strong points are that I'm open-minded, fair, resourceful, and creative. I can appreciate tradition and also embrace newness. I'm a proud West Covina resident, and I look forward to being more involved in the community.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Trudy Saltmarsh.
Hello. I'm here to introduce myself. I applied for the Human Resources Commission. I've had a lot of experience in this area. I was a regional manager in loan service for many, many years. Loan service, if you're not familiar with it, is not the funding of loans. It is taking care of the loans after they're funded. There's a lot of customer service involved. And you need to know a lot about the government regulations and so forth. I interviewed, hired, and developed my own staff. One of the quick things I learned is that people can look great on paper and they can interview very well. But then when you get them on board, they don't work out so well. So you need to be prepared to handle that type of situation. I believe I'd be a real asset to the community. I've lived here for over 40 years. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Saltmarsh. Jocelyn Blakely.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council, residents and staff. My name is Jocelyn Blakely. I came here tonight to introduce myself as a Human Resources Commission candidate. I've lived in the city of West Covina for approximately 10 years. I am an active participant in some of the sports organizations. I have volunteered in many different roles. I currently am looking at fulfilling this role in this position to show a volunteer advisory position that matches my qualifications. I am a employee at a neighboring city. I am very familiar with the recruitment process and also the policies and procedures that affect local government. I would like to bring my qualifications to this advisory role, and I really appreciate any consideration that I'll be given for this. I know that the ethical standards of a city are very important to its employees and also its elected officials. I am a staff liaison for a couple of commissions and committees within my city that I work for, so I am very familiar with the need to have dedicated professionals to represent the city and also the council members. I just wanted to come and introduce myself, and thank you guys for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate everybody coming out. We will make that selection later on in the meeting. Next speaker tonight is Colleen Rosati.
Good evening, Mayor Herford and council members, staff, and audience. I just want to introduce myself. I am the newly elected city treasurer for the city of West Covina. And last meeting, we had the budget presented to us by our finance director, Nita McKay, who I just wanted to say did an amazing job. She's holding down two positions here at the city, the Director of Human Resources and the Finance Director. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I used my 5 minutes of fame to talk about something else last meeting. So I wanted to dispel some concerns that were asked of me of the last meeting. There is some money that is due to the state for redevelopment. And those of you that are aware of it, I just wanted to let you know that the money is there. I am in contact quite often with Ms. McKay. We go over the budget regularly, along with accounts. Currently, both of these accounts are very, very liquid. We can pull the money out at any given moment if we need to. It is in an account LAIF, which is Local Agency Investment Fund. Currently, it's earning about 0.24%. The other amount is in LACIP, which is LA County Investment Pool. That is earning 0.610. If you look at the budget on page 20, under due to successor agency, you'll see an amount of $12.2 million. If you go to page 35, and this is all of public record for the residents to view, under payment to county auditor control, you see 11.5. So I know that is a big concern to all of you, as well as myself. I just wanted to let you know that I have researched it. If any of you ever have concerns or questions, feel free to contact me either through the city office or on my Facebook or through my cell phone, which is also posted. A couple things that will be coming up in one of the jobs, which is part of my position, is to look at money that is tangible. And coming up in the year 2016, there will be approximately $10 million that will need to be reinvested. Currently, it's earning 8.25, which is an amazing rate. It was an investment done in 1986. There's another $3 million that is earning 10.35 that is due to mature in 2015. That was invested in 1985. So Ms. McKay and I are in constant communication. We will start to look at some investment accounts, watch them for the next couple years, and when this money becomes available to be reinvested, hopefully we'll have a great direction to go into. So again, if you have any questions, please contact me through the city. More than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have some speakers on the consideration of a rental housing ordinance. First speaker is Mark Anderson.
Good evening. I've been a resident of West Covina for 35 years. I noticed that on the information that was sent out, one of the purposes of this program was eliminating blighted conditions. I live on Evergreen. I lived there since 1979. Councilman Toma is my neighbor. We have a house at the end of our street that, for as long as I can remember, has had a broken down motorhome in the front yard, a camper that's off of the truck. Both have been sitting there for years. Their trees grow into the street, and it's not a rental. It's owner occupied. So I'm concerned about this focus on landlords. This tax is directed at landlords. My company manages 750 units throughout the San Gabriel Valley. Many cities have initiated this program before. Just in Covina alone, I have 13 of my clients that are paying $4,000 a year And we've never heard from an inspector. Our owners have never heard from an inspector, and the tenants have never heard from an inspector. For whatever reason, it's not happening, but they're paying the tax year after year. The perception is that landlords are wealthy, and that's not always the case. A lot of the single-family houses that we manage are owned by the elderly on a fixed income, and they depend on that rent to survive in this expensive economy we have here in Southern California. And if we keep taxing them, we're punishing elderly people many times that don't have the money to pay for that and who are maintaining their properties well. It also refers to the concern about the housing stock in the city. Many of these landlords are operating on a very small margin because of the mortgage crisis and other reasons. They've got mortgage payments to make, and if they can't justify having rental property, then in the case of the single-family houses and the condos that are rentals, they're going to sell them. They're going to be purchased by owner-occupants, and each time that happens, there's one less rental house in the city. So I appreciate your reconsideration on this.
Okay, thank you. We really haven't made any decision yet, so Ron Laciello.
I want to thank you for hearing me out. From what I understand, you want to charge us about $18 a unit or so to inspect each unit. And we're already being taxed over $16 per unit as it is for a business license. Now you want to throw this on top of us. And excuse me before I blow up. The money that the city needs, I don't understand it. You guys are supposed to be running this city, right? And you're making the money that you're making off of revenue on everything that's going around should be enough to get this city going. You don't have to tax us for more money. There's one question I'd like to ask all of you, and if the president was standing right there, I'd like to ask him the same thing. How long and how hard does a man have to work before he enjoys the fruits of his labor? Because I'm getting sick and tired of being taxed every which way. The federal government climbs down our butts, the state climbs down our butts, and now the city's coming down on us. When are you guys going to let up? When is this country going to get together and tell these politicians that you can't do that? I'm getting sick and tired of being taxed every move I make. I had to drain my pool last year because we had the so-called water shortage.
Let me just interject here. This item hasn't been decided, so your input is what we're trying to listen to. I know you were very emotional, but
yes,
it's okay.
And I'm trying to give you an idea that
Thank you.
Enough's enough. You know, I've got better things to spend my money on. Every penny I make in my unit, it goes back into it. My father worked that place for 22 years. I worked it for over 40 years. And every penny I make, I throw back into my building. My tenants are happy, I'm happy. But I don't appreciate people thinking of ideas of digging deeper into our pockets. Stay the hell out of our pockets. And the government's the same way. You know, they mismanage our money, they dig deeper into our pockets, they find a way to do that, then they give themselves raises to celebrate how they screwed us over. It's all a game. It's all a game about taking more money. The government doesn't want to rule us. You people don't want to rule us. You want to own us. And it's just amazing the way this country, they're so busy out there stabbing each other in the back that the country's going to hell. And I just can't, I can't figure out, you want to come into my unit? Fine, inspect it. But don't go charging me for it. You were smart enough to go out there, or you had people go out there and take pictures of those eyesores. Okay? Now, dude, go one step further. Knock on their door and say, look, if you don't clean up your act, we're going to fine you. Stay the hell away from people that are proud of their property and worked it for so many years. Just back off. You know, if somebody's creating an eyesore, knock on his door and tell him he's got a month to square it away, or he'll be fined every day he doesn't do it. But don't be picking on people that are proud of their units. There's a lot of landlords that are proud of that the tenants are happy. And then you got to go in and invade their privacy by walking into their unit. If a tenant, if you pass this, if a tenant tells me I don't want nobody in my apartment, not even you, I'm going to respect that. And I'm not letting anybody in my tenant's apartment. That's an invasion of privacy. If I get permission from the tenant, I'll go inside and I'll take care of business. But I always ask my tenants if I can go in their apartment. But I'm not going to say, well, there's a total stranger out there that wants to inspect your apartment to see if you're eating the lead paint off the walls. You know, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of being taxed. I'm tired of working my butt off for 40 years. And then all of a sudden, each time I think I'm getting ahead, somebody comes around the corner, slaps me aside the head with another tax. I don't need it. I just need to live my life and pay my bills.
Thank you. Yeah, we want your input. So, yeah, I know it's an emotional issue for you. Don't applaud, please. It's a business meeting. Gary Galino.
I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about this program, because I'm also pretty passionate about it. And there's some information I'm going to present here that might sound a little crazy, but it's all verifiable online. So if you have pens and papers, I'd appreciate it if you guys write it down and look it up on your own and have an open mind. And I think there's some information here that maybe some people, including the council members, may not have ever heard before. So just, you know, like I said, have an open mind. So to address the last gentleman's point, I just want to say that if you're against a program, don't compromise with them. Enough is enough. No is no. Don't say, oh, just, you know, only inspect certain people, because this is America, and in America we should not have people knocking on our doors saying, oh, your grass is too big. We got to, you know, regulate that. So the first thing I want to say is in the first meeting they said that this was about the housing stock of the city and getting real estate prices up. Well, from October of 2012 to October of 2013, real estate in Southern California had an increase on the average of 22% in 1 year. That is bubble territory. That is extremely dangerous, unless, of course, you're a house flipper, then it's great. And, you know, we should not want our houses to go up that much in a year. It should be only about 2 to 3% on the annual. And another thing that I want to bring up, and it's going to be a little controversial, but I think it needs to be said, especially to the council. And I'm not accusing anybody on the council of anything. You guys may not be aware of this. But I have a paper here which I passed out to about 30 people. And I have the first picture shows, and I could show you guys this as well if you'd like. It shows the West Covina website, and it has the City Hall address where we're at right now. If you go on the Dun & Bradstreet website, which shows corporations and businesses in America, and you put in City of West Covina, the City Hall that we are standing in right now is registered as a corporation, and it is called the West Covina City Mayor is a city government executive offices company. So that means that this is not a public entity, and it's not for the people or of the people. It's for profit. Now, because this is a for-profit corporation, and this is not just West Covina, this is every city in California and in America, and the United States is a corporation, believe it or not. Now, because it's a corporation, it has to file or show their statistics, like an audit, every year of all the money they took in, all the money that they taxed, and their liabilities. And this is a 200-page document that I sifted through that they don't expect any of us to read. Now, in the first meeting, they told us that they don't have enough money to have this program, so they got to tax us.
Well, according to this document, on page 15 of it, it says that the city of West Covina has $60 million in cash and investments as of 2011 and $203 million in total net assets after liabilities. So this is not about not having enough money, because even if I was for the program, I'd say, hey, you have enough money, go ahead and do it. So this is not about not having enough money. There's plenty of money in the city, apparently, according to your own documents. And because this is a corporation, this is about making money and taking our money. Now, I want to point out a Supreme Court case. It's called Warren versus the District of Columbia. It's from 1981, and it stated that the police in America are not obligated to basically help the people. They're not obligated to save your life. You know, it's basically their decision to save your life if, you know, you're in trouble, and I know most of them do. Now, that makes you ask, well, what's the point of police in America if they're not supposed to save your life? Well, I think most of us know that it's for revenue generation. And on that same website, all the way down on page 195, it states that in 2002 there were 4,183 arrests. And in 2011, there were 3,210 arrests. So that was a decline of 25% of arrests in the city of West Covina. Now, since Covina is a corporation, that is a huge decrease in revenue because the police are a huge source of revenue. So what better way to gain revenue than to create a brand new crime that didn't exist the day before and to start taxing people for it? And not only is it a brand new crime, but it's a victimless crime. Having your grass too tall is a victimless crime, and they don't need you driving around harassing people about the length of our grass. And if you guys don't mind, since I have another 30 seconds, I just want to read this. This is from the Constitution, the Constitutional Rule Book. I think we all need to know more about this. It says, politicians, bureaucrats, and especially judges would have you believe that too much freedom will result in chaos. Therefore, we should gladly give up some of our rights for the good of the community. In other words, people acting in the name of government say we need more laws and more jurors to enforce these laws. And let's stop being like the Soviet Union, being more like America. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Force.
Good evening. I represent Sunset Garden Apartments at Sunset and Francisquito. I've only spoken before you one other time, and you let me down. We kind of agreed on what was supposed to be a sit-down Mexican restaurant across the street from me, where there would be strolling mariachis, and instead it's basically a Latino crazy horse that my property has to deal with. So I hope you don't let me down on this particular problem. Our property already has 3 inspections a year. We have a lender inspection. We have the crime-free multifamily housing program septic inspection, and the health department comes out. He doesn't just check my pool. He knocks on doors and he talks to people. I don't have a pile of citations. Anything my lender asks me to do, we do. Why should we have to pay this when there's no identifiable criteria that my property is a problem? I'm the one who calls in the problems. I'm the one who tries to help the city. I probably make more calls for service on the surrounding businesses and houses and homeless that have kind of infiltrated our city than anyone else in that area. So why should my property have to pay this when there's no identifiable criteria? Okay, I have a lot of people that have been at my property long term. I have residents from the 80s. Okay, so they're already dealing with these inspections. I want to ask, do any of you live in apartments? Anybody live in an apartment? Raise your hand. Okay, do you live in one now? How many times do your homes get inspected per year? I don't see any hands being raised.
My wife inspects every day.
Okay. But that is my job at that property. So, you know, where is the money going to come from? If we don't have identifiable criteria as a problem, why are we having to pay this? I mean, how do you all feel about traffic tickets? Do you want to pay into a fund for traffic tickets when you don't have one? I don't think so. I don't have a problem on this property. If I were identified as having a problem, that's another story. And I don't want urban blight. I'm so glad that the strip center across the street from me has been cleaned up, and that, you know, I have the law enforcement that I have that comes out and helps me when we have the homeless problem living on the bus benches. I am grateful for that, and I'm proud of that. But I think if you impose that on all of us, even the ones that are not a problem, you need to change this letterhead where it's proudly announcing that West Covina was the recipient of Los Angeles County's most business-friendly city award in 2011 and 2012. You're going to need to paraphrase under that unless you're a rental property owner. You know, think about it. Think about how many times your homes get inspected. I have residents that are in very sensitive fields. They don't like people going into their apartments. We still do it because we want to maintain the community. But I have people that are perhaps in fields of law enforcement where they do work from home, people that work for the IRS. I have people in very sensitive fields. They take off work when we do an inspection. How many times per year do you think they should have to take off work if the inspector wants to go into their unit? How many times do they need to take off work? How many sick days or vacation days? You know, you need to take all these things into consideration because not every property is a problem. Yeah, I'm sure there is. I've seen apartmentratings.com's website, and some of those properties, people have made complaints on that site. They've posted pictures. I would quit. I would just quit if I had pictures of roaches crawling up my walls. But I don't. We have a gated community. We have security patrol. We have 7-day-a-week maintenance. We have free exterminating services. Anytime our lender requests something, we do it. Anytime the health department requests something, we do it. We get hit with a new set of laws every year, and we comply. And now you want to do this. I want you to consider it very carefully. Think about what it would be like to live on one of those rental communities. How would you like it? And where's the money going to come from? My Christmas bonus? Thank you.
Thank you. Diana Silva.
Good evening, City Mayor and Council members. I currently manage 300 units in West Covina. We are luxury apartments, gated community, and we're always in compliance. In our lease agreement, it states that we do semi-annual and annual inspection. So having this will make it another inspection, and now it is with a fee. So I have worked in property management for 24 years, and I have seen housing ordinance like this, rental inspection, especially in Northern California. The self-certification requires 20% of the units. I read somewhere that you are requiring 30% for self-certification. That means we have to inspect another 90 units. Are these randomly selected units? Who will be inspecting the units? And then if you see any violation, if the inspectors saw any violations on those units, how will they address it with the residents? Are the landlords going to be fined? Who do you think will pay for this fee? So I think these are some factors that you will have to consider because as the other speakers mentioned, not all landlords have deep packets. We have to take into consideration the status of the residents also that we are renting the apartments to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Dave Stewart.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, my fellow residents. As a 56-year adult member of West Covina, naturally I've seen West Covina build up probably 3 or 4 times what it was back in those days. I called it the City of Beautiful Homes. I still do, but I have to almost say now that it's a city of some beautiful homes because there's a few that need help. I'm concerned about this rental thing, but I have some ideas. The first thing I thought about was usually in the springtime we have the cleanup campaign, I think, when Athens comes around. I think if we get it out into the public as to what, if code enforcement does look at the houses, what they're going to be looking for, get it in the Discover, in the papers, the mail-outs, whatever it may be, and possibly you could avoid a lot of problems by letting people know what they're going to be looking for, and that way they wouldn't, get people, code enforcement stop at their house to question them. But anyway, I know it's a big problem, but I can't understand why like 10% of the people, the 10% of the rental houses should foot the bill for the whole city. That's what it amounts to. In Covina, they sent out a bill for $125. Just like Mark Anderson said, they haven't come around, but it says right in their thing that all they do is have an envelope and a landscape inspection. They probably just drive by. And if everything's okay, it just sends you a card to say it's okay, and we'll basically go by next year for $125. They do not go inside it unless there's a problem. And when I talked to one of our councilmen that's no longer in the council, but in 2005, he mentioned that we had like $75 million in assets, and we probably would never have to have a utility tax like Covina has. Well, basically it's a utility tax, but just on a few people. I understand if we have everybody involved, we have to have a vote of the people. We can't just do it. So apparently you can just do it with a few people. But I'm really concerned about it. Like Mark Anderson said, there's a lot of rental units are not managed by a management company. Older people say that can't afford their house payments or even to stay there and keep it up. They move in with their children, and they use that rent for part of their income. But charging them a yearly fee is just kind of defeating the purpose. And I did one thing on my own. This sounds pretty crazy probably, but I wanted to see for myself how many houses in town were what I thought were really a problem. So what I did, I went to a few tract houses. I drove through the tract first and kind of counted how many were there, and get an idea of what I thought the average house looked like. So the first tract I went had approximately 150 houses. Second time around, I looked, and about 50 to 60% of them were what I call average. 20 to 30% were above average, and that left about 10% that could probably use some work. But the amazing part was a lot of those things that could use some work weren't going to cost a lot of money. It's just simply labor to do minor things like hide trailers or get it behind the fence or tree trimming, things like that. There were a few that were bad. I went to a lot of cul-de-sacs, tried to find the worst one in the cul-de-sac. I took down the addresses of the one I thought was the worst. And then I went to tracts that had the flat roofs. I found more problems in the backyard because you can see over the roofs. There's probably a lot of construction back there that maybe it's not permitted. I really don't know. But I did the same thing, and I kept coming up with the 10% that needed some help. So what I did, I sent down some addresses, and usually if the tax bill does not go to the property, it goes elsewhere. That usually means it's a rental house. So of the 20 that I checked on, 5 of them showed as rental houses. So I don't think it's that big a problem as far as the rental houses. I agree there's a lot of them, but I can give you the addresses right now. It's like 4 houses that are probably worth $1 million that look as bad as any house in this town. And I just think if we go about it the right way, possibly we could avoid a few problems. And because I know once the $80 or whatever it might be goes on, there will be it goes on forever. It never comes off. So hopefully we can figure out something different. But like I say, if it makes a difference, a huge difference, and does it right away, I'd be happy to pay my share. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Green.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My wife and I have been West Covina residents since 1952 and 1953. We grew up here. We raised our families here. Our business is here, which is rental property.
We do already pay a business tax for this business that we've chosen. I urge the council not to approve this new fee or new tax. This is my business. It is my responsibility to check my houses, my apartments, and see that they are kept up and be a responsible citizen. I'm not going to belabor the point, just to say that I ask you not to put another fee on there that gets passed on to tenants that are already strapped. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Tim Johnson. I'm the Executive Director for the California Apartment Association. I represent the Greater Inland Empire. However, we have division statewide. We represent just over 50,000 members and 2 million units statewide. Currently, in regards to the provision that the one item in regards to inspection ordinances, it treats all rental property owners, managers, so forth, as kind of to appoint criminals or to appoint slumlords. I think the one item within provisions that you want to look at, if you decide to move forward with this, you really need to look at kind of focusing your efforts on the ones that are taking the city resources. You want to make sure that those individuals that are impacting your neighborhoods, impacting your communities, are the ones who are actually paying for that service. Your property owners and your responsible management companies that actually have good management practices that inspect their properties, not just once. Some of these individuals inspect their properties up to 3 times a year. They have HUD that inspects their property. If they have an agreement with them, they have their lenders. They go through multiple inspections throughout the entire year. The one item that you really need to focus on, again, is those folks that are impacting your resources. And so with those provisions, you really do just need to make sure, again, if you move forward, is create a good landlord program. It's something that city staff has been working with our association for the last few months on some of those criteria. You see it in the staff recommendations in regards to a self-certification program. And those are items that have been implemented in cities throughout the Inland Empire and other cities in the LA Basin. But just from that standpoint, you really just want to, we urge you to look at that standpoint. Don't treat all management companies, all owners, as not taking care of their investment. This is an investment that they have either inherited, they've actually put their retirement into, or they've been able to build their business on. But ultimately, again, they shouldn't be treated as individuals that are not protecting those investments. And so from that standpoint, again, it's up to the council. I know you're looking at ways if you are going to tackle this effort, but again, those provisions will be probably key. It's something that, again, you hear this a little bit from some of your residents right now, or your owners, is they're talking about how you have cities that do have these inspection ordinances, and they're not able to actually actually inspect all the units. If you actually talk to several of the cities that actually have these mandatory programs, again, on a blanket scale, that are actually impacting all rental properties, they're not able to actually inspect these properties. Some of these properties are not inspected for several years. And so from that standpoint, if you, again, look at this provision, owners that actually pass these, one, don't have any major violations or have never had a history of major violations, they should be looked at from the standpoint of, they build it in their normal annual inspections or semi-annual inspections where they're able just to submit that, verify with the city saying, look, we've gone through the property, we've gone through the checklist, and pay to a point, just submit that, and you have that for your records. But that's something, again, is beneficial. You have the city of Sacramento that has implemented that. You have the city of Eastvale. You have city of Hemet that has also included that as well. So again, those are things that you can build within it if you are really trying to tackle the issue at hand and not just impact the rental community, you really do want to look at where your resources are spent and really look hard and fast at the cities that actually have blanket ordinances that impact the rental housing community, because ultimately, again, they're not effective. You want to make sure that, again, if you're focused on making sure those folks are impacting your services, that they're paying for those services. But again, don't treat the entire rental housing industry, again, as absent landlords. One item I do want to end with is your Public Works Director has been, at least from my opinion, in the last few months, extremely responsive. He's been able to not only look at the ordinances that we've worked on that are statewide models, but also to provide feedback in regards to maybe his concerns and continue that dialogue back and forth. And I do want to thank him for his time and his ongoing commitment to work with us. I do also offer the City Council and the city staff to continue using us as a resource. We do have several inspection ordinances that we have worked at in regards to that have really reduced those call volumes, reduced those, again, those slumlords that are actually impacting your community. So I definitely highly encourage you to look at those provisions, again, if you decide to move forward with this ordinance. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Mayor, I have a
Thank
question.
you. Councilmember Warshaw.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
you mentioned a few cities here in California, Sacramento and Hemet, I think, for instance. Excuse me? Oh, okay. Can you tell me, all three have self-certifications?
They do.
And they're, prior to the self-certification, I imagine they had to go through an inspection and then do self-certifications?
There are some in regards to cities that do have initial inspections where they're able to kind of, what they do is they're kind of getting an inventory in regards to what those, kind of what the stage of those units are. However, some cities are actually build provisions where if you don't have major infractions within those properties over a course of history, so forth, they actually reduce the number of units, or to a point, they actually look at just more of the exterior side of the building. And that's something that your staff has recommended in regards to more of the exterior inspections instead of the per unit cost, which originally was proposed with the city of Covina. So again, there are provisions that you could look at in regards to, again, incentivizing responsible property owners that have taken care of their property.
Right. And can you tell me, do any of these cities charge for self-certification?
In regards to as the annual reports come in and so forth, it's a nominal fee. Sometimes it sits, and again, don't quote me on it, I think it sits anywhere between $30 and $40. And that's just to pay for the admin cost to process that paperwork.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Salvador Lopez. Is there a Salvador Lopez here? Okay, we'll move on to Masood Sabaji. Masood Sabaji. Okay. Bruce Leinbach.
First of all, I want to discuss a subject that has nothing to do with this. Like I say, I'm from Iowa, and 4 years ago in the Olympics, this person from Iowa, she was an African American, she won 5 gold medals, named Sportsman of the Year, and had a great, she was really recognized as a great skater. Now, somebody asked her, here she is, being trained in Iowa, and he talked to her manager and says, why did you go to Iowa? He said, there's nothing to do, no distractions. So anybody wants to be an Olympic skater, send them to Iowa. Maybe they'll get a gold medal, okay? First of all, I want to say one thing. I think this whole thing was precipitated by one thing. It started it all. And that is that the criminals are coming in, the managers, property are not managing, they're staying there, and they're causing part of the crime in West Covina, or the increase. I think according to the latest statistics, tentative, the serious crime like murders, burglaries, and serious felonies, the crime rate has stayed the same or gone down. However, in property crimes, it's a little different. According to tentative, burglary is up 5%, and larceny is up 10%. And of course, larceny is probably the biggest growth crime there is, because that has to do with identity theft. So, but like I say, I live in South Hills. Not too long ago, we had about 12 burglaries, and we formed a neighborhood watch. And we came, and we have Lieutenant Plunkett. He addressed the group. He stated that the problems we're having, that we can anticipate our crime rate to go up, particularly on property-type crimes, because of the release, the mass release of prisoners from our penal system. And I think that's a large part of the problem. And they're having all these inspections. I don't think it's going to correct it that much to have a dramatic effect. Also, I feel this is going around and having inspections as a property owner. You accept the first one, pretty soon, how many more inspections are coming after by the city? That's the thing that worries me the most. I feel we have a good city. I feel the property values in the city of West Covina have gone up 20%. So I don't think that crime is having an adverse effect. I've owned properties. I own some fourplexes in the city of Upland, and that was a criminal haven. I think they had about 200 units, and they're having almost 200 police calls a month going in there. And the property values, everybody, all the property owners, they went down about 60% because of all the crime. I don't see that. I own our apartments where the Woodbridge, where I own some of the apartments, two fourplexes. And there's 174 fourplexes there. The crime has gone down. And property values had the greatest value. If we had a serious problem, we wouldn't be having this. I mean, whenever we have serious crime problems, property value goes down. There's a fear, well-justified fear, by say in the West Covina with the police department we have, and the fact that overall I feel we take good care of our units. There are people who don't, and like I say, what you should do, and people who don't manage your properties properly, code enforce them, cite them. So, but going through and having this every year and then expanding it, I'm opposed to it. But I'm in favor of, have the city citing people who are violators. That will help out, and maybe even citizens, but particularly that'd solve part of the problem or the image. But I just feel right now the crime rate in West Covina is not growing, and I think this is part of the reason for it, and I don't think any need for this to right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's about it for the rental ordinance issue. We'll move on to just general communication. We have about 10 speakers, and then we'll take up the rental item right away. Carolyn Arndt. Just general.
Good evening to all of you, even our residents, our rental property owners, our staff. Last meeting, I invited you to a town hall about the general plan, and I announced that it was to be in Baldwin Park. We had a really hard time wrapping ourselves around moving a city event to Baldwin Park. And I spoke to Chris Chung, and he so graciously offered for us to come here. So tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, you people, staff, the residents, business owners, stakeholders, and investors are invited to listen to Drexel Smith, who worked on the general plan for Walnut. Now, albeit Walnut was a new town at the time, and we're 90 years old. But we're going to be students. We've never worked on a general plan. This is a great opportunity. The very fact that you're all here tonight tells us that you're interested. Now we need to have you come and learn and become participants. And so that's the next step. So tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right here, we'll be here. He is bringing on 2 experts in the field. And it's a gift to us, a gift to our city. It's a very special event. Thank you.
Thank you. Juan Reynoso.
Good evening, gentlemen. Almost 2 years ago, 2012, I asked for some public records. I'm a very patient man. I'm here because I see some changes, and I hope that this is addressed right this time. One of the public records that I requested for was the service logs for the graffiti removal contract. Now, very simple request, service logs. Got a letter from our city attorney, which he claimed one of the many excuses as to why I could not get that record was the request seeks a custom report from a third-party information and analysis service that does not already exist within city records. First of all, every city requires their contractors to provide detailed reports of where and when they render their services. Otherwise, how can we confirm if such work was done? Now, based on what little information I was provided, the city's current graffiti removal contractor claims that he is servicing an average of 2,400 sites per month for graffiti. Do simple math, that's 28,800 a year. Break it down by week, 554 sites a week. It's a lot of graffiti. That's 110 sites a day. Break it down by an 8-hour shift. This contractor claims that he's doing a removal every 4.5 minutes. I want him to work for me. Second, my request does not seek a third-party information or analysis service. I am merely asking for the contractor's daily service logs. We as taxpayers have every right to scrutinize those logs. Another claim made by the city attorney was the request seeks information compiled by city law enforcement officers that is used in the city's ongoing effort to track and investigate criminal activity. It's 28,800 investigations that the police is, I guess, handling at this point in time. Now, I'm not seeking any information compiled by any law enforcement officer. I'm asking for the graffiti removal contractor service logs. Another claim made by the city attorney, all this is in one letter, mind you. He really wanted to beat me up. The city attorney's claim was that information constitutes an investigatory record that is exempt from the PRA's disclosure requirements. I am not seeking one. Once again, I am not seeking any information compiled by any law enforcement officer. I am asking for the log services provided by the graffiti removal contractor, which is information the contractor is required to provide the city. In addition, I think the city attorney should really review California Government Code 6254F. Really study that one. Another claim by the city attorney was that the PRA does not require the city to disclose records where the public interest in non-disclosure clearly outweighs the public interest in disclosure. How in the world would non-disclosure of how our tax dollars are being spent benefit us, the public? We need to know how it's being spent. Finally, the last claim, the request would produce documents that are exceedingly voluminous in nature. Item 5.1 of Article 5 of the Graffiti Abatement Services contract states that the contractor, the monthly report that he's supposed to provide, will be mailed and electronically submitted with the monthly statement and will be used by the city to monitor the contract. Electronically means in bytes, bits and bytes of computer programming. There's no big volume there. I'm not asking for a lot. I just want the records. It's very simple. Can I please have those records? Thank you.
Elsie Messman.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and everyone here tonight. My name is Elsie Messman, and I'm a resident of West Covina. Mayor Herford is probably whispering under his breath, "Here comes that old witch again." It is disturbing, since this was not apparently settled tonight, or at this time, but it is disturbing that John McClendon, the attorney who's successful in stopping the medical condo project, has apparently not been paid the monies determined by the court to be due to him by the city after it lost its lawsuit. Even more alarming is those monies have been withheld while Squire Sanders appears to have been allowed to continue and incur additional costs and receive payments for them. The last report we received, the City of West Covina paid Squires Sanders $283,890.04 to lose the medical condo case, and this does not include what Alvarez Glassman received. Apparently there was no question asked, and the city just paid them. In the meantime, Mr. McClendon, the attorney representing the West Covina Improvement Association, has not been paid, and all he is asking for $144,000, almost half of what Squires and Sanders was paid, and that's not including what Alvarez Glassman's fees were. By dragging this out, Stephen Owens from Squire Sanders and Alvarez Glassman, to me, seem like they are milking this city and will continue to do so as long as we let them do it. Mr. Chung, our city manager, should know something about losing. After all, he got his attorney fees paid, just like Squire Sanders and Alvarez Glassman now. We residents have to wake up and put a stop to this. I hope W.C. Holmes' attorneys are the lead counsels defending the lawsuit on the San Bernardino Road project. We need a firm that specializes in auditing the law firms for the amounts being billed in specific tasks, for specific tasks. We also need a complete audit of the city as to how our last council spent over $50 million once and for all. And our petty cash, or shall I say slush fund, Mr. Chung, on the warrant register needs to be itemized in further detail. And I am requesting two things from Mr. Chung for the public records, and I will give this to him, and I expect an answer from him. Thank you.
Johnny Chua and Joshua Sherjono.
Good evening, Mayor Herford, Mayor Pro Tem Sykes, and Council Member. I'm here to bid my, welcome. I guess I'm back getting involved in the community, and we have extended our invitation to you, but I'd like that Joshua reiterate our invitation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council Members, and fellow residents. My name is Joshua Sherjono. I have been a resident in West Covina
almost 10 plus years now. And I just wanted to invite all of you to an Easter extravaganza that is held on behalf of Gospel Life and City of Blessing Church on April 19th at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is a free community event to all who want to come. We will have booths, activities, talent shows, petting zoo, a live band, and food. It's basically a time that you can get together with your family, with your friends, your fellow community members, and just have an enjoyable day. It's more like a festival, and we would just like to invite you to come out, and we would love to see all of you there. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. John Shoemaker?
Did somebody leave there? Oh. You want somebody to go home without their notes. A couple items. The first one is, the public voting on police and fire that Roger Hernandez has proposed. That's one of the things that you can argue both sides of it very well. The biggest thing to me, though, is if the city council did a midnight run and decided to do something like that, the public would have to, not just this city, any city, the public would have to go through a lot of time and expense and trouble to stop that. And in some cases, cities aren't as well equipped, or the people in the city, to do it. And it seems like something this big, which changes the fabric of the city, should be something that the public would vote on. That way they can get, whether it's an informed decision, but at least it's a decision that they're making. The argument, and I really do hate the argument in any governmental document or any document in general, that says it's too expensive to hold an election. I think appointments and everything else should be elections when it's to the city council, school board, or anything along those lines. And considering how often and how many times we have been in wars claiming we want to give other people the right to vote like we do on things, I think is extremely disrespectful to a lot of men and women who have given everything to allow people to vote. And I just wish, that we as a city would be one of the ones that stop it, that say, if the argument is, hey, you hired us, you voted us in to make those decisions, we want to make those, so be it. I have no problem with that at all. But I really don't like it when it's too expensive to vote. When you have people in this room who darn near died for that, I think it's just disrespectful, and I wish we would stop doing that and approach it from a different perspective. Because it's not one life that was given for another country so they could have the right to vote is much more expensive than whatever we're going to pay as a city to have a vote on an issue like this. Rental housing. I think this is a solution in search of a problem to a great extent. At one time, I remember how we used to get up here and have some fun with the former city manager because of what many people perceived was his overzealousness of enforcing the community standards of our city. We didn't seem to have a lack of money then, but we also had 4 or 5 people who were doing it. What happened to those 4 or 5? This, to me, is nothing more than an attempt to get money from the public because of historical mismanagement of the city's finances. And people who don't have an issue, who are good landlords, who are good property owners, who do their best to keep their property to a certain standard, a community standard, are penalized because they follow the rules and a few others don't, and the city took that money and spent it God knows where. So I don't think they should be harmed because of that. So I hope, the other thing that I hope we eventually get to the point of stopping are some of these lawsuits, or at least I hope this council would come out and say what they're doing. Different things I hear is like, the attorney for WCIA the judge gave him an extra $25,000, $30,000 because I guess it was contempt of judge. Our lawyer upset a judge, which is kind of a mistake. And we're spending $100,000 to not pay 25 or 30. I don't quite understand that concept. And obviously, I don't have access to the same information that all of you do, but it would be nice to, be told, publicly what some of the rationale is. Again, not the strategy, but the rationale. We've spent millions of dollars on the auto malls, too. Are we ever going to get any of that money back? And what benefit are we deriving from it? And that's not giving away strategy. That's just informing the public. Saying, there's other issues that, and here's the issues and why we're continuing to appeal it. So I hope you guys would be, you gentlemen would give that to the public, and you'll get a lot of us not up here complaining every week about those items, because we just want to be educated. We might disagree, but at least we can say, okay, I don't agree with the reason, but they've got one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Augie Galavis.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, esteemed residents, special guests. My name is Augie Galavis. I'm the district commander of the nation's largest veterans organizations, member of the American Legion, and many other veterans organizations, VFW, DAV, and all. I come here with hat in hand asking if the city could see it themselves to waive the fees for the use of one of the parks that we've been using for many years. That's Palmview Park. And if they would allow us to use, what we do in this park is every year we have an annual picnic for our deployed veterans and the veterans who have served our nation's military. It'll be on Sunday, April 13th, the opening date they gave me. And if they would consider that so that we can help our, and any waive of fees that we have would give us a little more funds to help these family members of our deployed veterans who are serving in harm's way today. As one of the nation's largest veterans, I am very proud and honored as a disabled combat veteran myself, served in Vietnam, by the way, and also a member of the VFW, who he is one of our commanders there. But if you can consider that, it would be an honor, sir, and as you've seen, we've met you, a member here of the American Legion of our Veterans Hall in West Covina, both of them. Thank you, and if you excuse me, I'll be leaving real soon because wife has some special things tonight for me because it is my birthday today.
Wow, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Augie, could you just give some of that to the city manager there? And
yes, if you also would contact my office, we can address the waiver fees. You've been talking. Great.
Okay, thank you. Herb Redholz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you and council and everybody here. A couple of topics tonight. The first one is several weeks ago, the Corey Lytle statue at Big League Dreams was brutally vandalized, to put it mildly. My question is this. I remember when we were going through the process for Big League Dreams, it was my understanding that the operators of BLD were to staff, maintain, manage, and I thought they were responsible for securing that facility. So my question is, are they? Who is responsible for securing that facility? And how could something like this occur if there is security on the premises? I haven't heard anything more about this since the incident occurred, whether or not the criminals have been apprehended or what the latest is on that. But I would hope that there is a better security there, and I'm just wondering what is the plan for that, and if we're going to replace it or what, and who would be responsible for it. That's topic number one. Topic number two is item number 3 on your agenda, which is Assemblymember Hernandez's desire to control the city of West Covina. I can wait. It concerns me. We heard tonight many people getting up here and complaining about the city trying to get into their pockets and control their lives and overstep their bounds. And with the history of the state of California taking our money and just reaching into our pocket, I for one do not want to give up any of the control we have here over how we operate our city to the state of California. The voters, and it's not just with police and fire, the voters have spoken on local control in this city in overwhelmingly to keep control of our police and fire and our public safety. So it's gone to the voters before, and they've spoken on it. And as far as I know, there is no expiration date on election results. As far as I know, that still stands. Assemblymember Hernandez is also trying to implement force districting on cities, and it's specifically aimed at the city of West Covina. And I think it's sad, as Mayor Pro Tem Sykes has spoken in the past. Let's take it to the voters and let the voters decide. And the voters decided, and they decided overwhelmingly that they wanted to keep at-large elections. So again, it's another attempt by Sacramento, in particular, unfortunately, one assembly member, to force his will on the city of West Covina. And I think we need to keep local control wherever we can. We have a representative democracy. Somebody was saying, we need to have a vote on this, and the people should vote on that, and this and that. We elect you to represent us. You listen to what we have to say at these meetings. Hopefully, you listen, you respond, you react. You're to represent us. We can't be supposed to vote on every item that could affect us. We elect you to do that. And if we don't like the way you're representing us, as happened in the last election, we vote for a change. That's why you guys come up for election every 2 years, every 4 years, depending on your seat. So that's the control that the voters have. So to relinquish any control to the state that we don't have to, we should not do it. This is our city. We should run it. We should control it. We should maintain it and keep them out of our lives as much as possible. Let us handle it. We can do it. So I would urge you to support staff's recommendation and oppose that assembly proposition that Assemblymember Hernandez is proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. George Ogden.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff, and residents here in the city of West Covina. I'm the commander here in the city of West Covina, representing the VFW at this time. And I wanted to thank Corey Warshaw at the last meeting. He made it clear that the funding that might be available to the city for the memorial is not coming from taxpayers' money, but in fact coming from the developers that have put together a fund to make it available for certain projects throughout the city. And so saying so, I want to thank you for clarifying that up, because there was some concern on my side as somebody had made a comment to me and they had some questions about it. Also, I wanted to, at this time, thank everybody that has supported the Memorial Fund, and I wanted to let you know that tonight, since I was going to be here, we've raised another $717.70. We've already cut a check for it. I'd like to go ahead and leave that before I leave here and get some direction from the mayor. Who would you like to have it this time? Who? City manager? I like that. All right.
Thank you, George. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, and once again, thank you for your support for this memorial.
Thank you. Gloria Goitia. Goitia.
Hi, my name is Claudia Goitia. I'm actually a representative for Assemblyman Roger Hernandez. So I want to thank the members of the community who are here today, as well as the council. And I'm here actually to extend an invitation to the council and community members to attend a community coffee that the Assemblyman is hosting at the West Covina Public Library this Saturday. We're very delighted to be joining the library on Saturday and showcasing the library, in addition to offering an opportunity for community members to give feedback to the assembly member on the state budget legislation, any concerns that they may have regarding the state. And I also invite the council to participate as well and, hear the perspective from the member on his thinking for proposed legislation for this legislative cycle. I understand that there is a bill that you are going to be considering and taking a position by the city, but I would also encourage you to, participate this Saturday. It's going to be from 10 to 11:30, Saturday, March 22nd, at the West Covina Public Library, so that you can offer your feedback and understand what the member's perspective is when he introduced legislation. So I encourage you all to participate, and we look forward to seeing many of you there. Thank you.
Thank you. K. Raja. Then I have one more speaker, and that'll be it. Thank you.
Chairman and Councilman, my name is Kingsley Raja. I do own some of the apartments in West Covina, the 4-unit apartments. And a lot of people have come and spoken here and said so many things that why you should not do this. And I do agree with them for the simple reason, if you see something that is wrong, the pictures out there, the chances are it could be owner-occupied. It could be. I'm not saying they are. I don't see any apartments that are there that y'all have cited. The place where we have about 170 odd apartments, 4-unit apartments. And y'all did a run-through, drive-through, and y'all did a great job. And only about 4 or 5 people who have broken the law. And y'all corrected it. The same thing could be done by a police officer or one of y'all people who are, because I hear y'all used to have 2 or 3 people who used to go and check the inspectors. But now y'all have only 1 person. And now, how is this 1 person going to cover so many places? Y'all had 3 or 4 and y'all did nothing. Now all of a sudden you have 1 and y'all want to take over all the places in West Covina. I don't think it is a right thing to do, because I have owned these apartments for quite a long time. For the last 5 years, I have not increased 1 penny. But the water bill is high, the electricity has gone up, everything has gone up. As a matter of fact, only last month, I had to decrease somebody's rent because of a divorce, and the guy had 2 children. I had to bring it down. I cannot be human if you all keep increasing this, that, and the other. So please give it some thought. There may be only a few people like me, but it's really worth it to help these people. Having these kind of increases is not going to help. It'll be only make things worse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dominic Guadagno. Dominic Guadagno, I think that's what it is. Okay, did not hear. Mark Sanfilippo. And that'll be it, okay?
Good evening. I've done a lot of research on this. I went and talked to the City of Ontario regarding their program. I've looked into it regarding the City of Covina. And I do have the agenda memorandum that was on the website, so I could go into a little bit more detail on what's here. The program that's being considered is, well, the thought process is to actually improve the community. What this is a response to the blight that's out there, and the thought process behind that to improve the values and the well-being of the community is it's a good thing. It's the right thing, but this is going about it the wrong way. You're penalizing people who have a business here. They have, the only way that they can have their rents where they're supposed to be and they can continue keeping their properties full is to make sure that they're the prettiest one around. They're the best one on the block. They're the one that people want to come to. The problem that you're seeing is the pictures that you have up there. And not one of those pictures is a multi-tenant property. They're all houses. They're all single-family residences. And I do understand what the situation is. The situation is you have one code enforcement and you don't have enough ability to go after those things. But going after your community, the investors, owners, business owners, small business owners of your community, and putting it on their backs when they're already doing their jobs by keeping the community clean. They don't want somebody who is a bad resident or a bad tenant in their neighborhood. They don't want them in their apartment complex. It affects their business, their bottom line. I know you guys are supposed to look at this as something above, and that's great, but you've got to find the money. You have to figure out some other way of doing this. You've got to go after those people that are out there that have their own properties or that are renting. You have it right here, specifically. It says, unfortunately, there is no way to exactly know how many single-family homes are rentals, and this fact could make the ordinance difficult to enforce for single-family housing units. How in God's name are you supposed to do that? It says there's 3,000, 4,000 single-family homes being rented out, but it says they don't know how many. I don't understand that. I also have a real issue with the fact that you're charging per unit fees. How does that work out? Every property's got one yard. Every property has one area. Whether it's big or it's small, it's just one. And yet you have no problem charging, I don't know what Covina's doing here, $2,400 a year for a 125-unit apartment complex. They've only got one front yard and one backyard or one area. Maybe it's bigger, but should they be charged, I don't know, instead of 126 for a home that has a really large yard? I don't think that's very fair, and I think it's wrong. And I think the council and the mayor should look at this program and they should say, hey, we've got to do this. We've got to work on this for our community. We've got to do it for our residences because that's where we were voted in. It's important. I agree. Don't do this. Don't put it on the backs of those people that have made this their home and made this their livelihood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes oral communications. Do you need a break? Okay. When we come back, we'll take up the rental housing inspection program before we do any other items, okay? Because there's a lot of people for that. Yes.
Before we take this quick break, I like for the perhaps maybe when we come back after the break to address the question of for a public records request on the logs. You know, there's a ton of graffiti, and we pay for it. So I'd like to see why is it that we can't give that out to the public? We pay quite a bit. The public should see what we pay for, and also perhaps they'll be able to figure out why. So if we can address that situation.
Yeah, I don't have a problem addressing it. I just thought since there's a lot of people here on the rental housing ordinance, we'd take that first, and then we can address it after that. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take a seat? Yeah, we're going to bring up item 6 first, so. Yeah, do you want the staff report first or not? No? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, since there was a large crowd on the rental housing, we're going to bring that one forward. Item 6 on the agenda. Councilmember Spence has a question.
Well, I don't have a question. I just want to know if I can move that we, as a council, reject the proposed rental inspection fee and direct staff to no longer work on the project. I know this was brought up before I was on the council, and, but that's what I'd like to see if that's possible to do now.
Okay. That's a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Councilman Warshaw?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to hear the staff report on it, number one. I happened to go to the first meeting. I don't like some of the recommendations that are in this. One of the things that I was looking for is not to be penalizing apartment complexes. But we didn't hear from a whole lot of speakers of the 2,000 to 3,000 rental single units. And I think that's where most of the problem is. And I think there is an issue with some of that. So I am not in favor of squashing this at this point in time.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilmember Toma?
Yeah, I'd like to hear some discussion or questions before we, I think the motion is appropriate.
That's fine. Okay. We can leave it on the table and go through.
We'll leave the motion on the table then. Okay. City staff, do we have a staff report?
Yes, I'll have Shan Yasi present that staff report. Before he gets started, I was reviewing the report again, and one of the things that I wish that I included in there is try to explain how we got here. And I think there's a misnomer among the public that this is council initiated in the attempts to generate revenue, in order to pay for code enforcement. But I want everyone to understand that, it started with complaints of crime from residents within an area that believed that the crime came from tenants from adjacent apartment units. And they came to council meetings, several council meetings, to voice their concerns about that and specifically asked for the city to consider a rental housing ordinance modeled after the city of Covina. And the council, after receiving several requests at council meetings, directed staff to look into that and to receive public input in the form of community meetings in order to find out where the community felt about that. And that's what we did, and that's what we're here to do, is to provide a response or input from those meetings and also the input at this meeting here to help the council decide of where to go from here. And I think it's just very important that everyone understands that we're just in a very preliminary, process right now, trying to establish where to go from here, and that upon getting more information, we're seeking council direction on whether to pursue this, continue to pursue this, or whether to modify it and look at other options. So with that, I'll have Shan Yasi present the staff report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. A rental housing ordinance was discussed several times, as mentioned, by the City Council in 2012 and also in 2013. In September 2013, former Mayor Shelley Sanderson then asked that staff return with a program modeled after the City of Covina's. Their program is intended to eliminate blight and preserve the housing stock of the city. Staff is returning tonight to provide options and to seek direction from the City Council. The City of Covina enacted a rental housing inspection program in November 2012. Their program requires inspection of all apartments, rental units, hotels, motels, and single-family rentals. It contains permit fees to recoup the costs of the inspection program. Properties that do not pass the property maintenance inspections are required to make the needed corrections. At this time, the Covina program is not fully implemented, although they have just retained a contractor to start performing the first year's inspections. And my understanding is that that first year's inspection will be just a drive-by exterior inspection. It should be noted that Covina ordinance cannot regulate or evict tenants due to criminal activity. In November 2013, staff conducted a workshop to educate the public on a proposed program for the City of West Covina. At that time, about 60 individuals were in attendance at that meeting. Most, but not all, of the speakers were there and spoke and opposed such a program. In summary, the most common comments in opposition were basically outright opposition to the program in general, opposition to any new fee or tax, comments that the proposed fees are too high, comments that the city should only go after the landlords that are in violation, that the city should fund more staff without additional fees or taxes, and that apartment owners and managers were opposed to the per unit fee, and that the city should not charge apartments and condos that have an HOA or homeowners association. Also, in the last few days, in addition to the testimony tonight, I received 11 emails or phone calls opposing the program and one that was neutral. Next, please. Staff did review 14 other California city ordinances. They're listed in the staff report. In summary, most of the city ordinances contain certain elements, such as they collect a fee and they require an inspection for basic property maintenance. They include single-family homes and apartments. They exempt trailer parks, and they cover primarily the exterior of the properties. Next. However, they do contain some differences, and these vary throughout the city. Some have provisions for a task force made up of various agencies. A few include hotels and motels. Some require, very few require mandatory interior inspection. Some allow it under certain circumstances. At least one requires interviews with the tenants. A couple cities, as has been mentioned already by speakers, have a self-certification provision. This is a provision that allows landlords whose property passed the first round of inspections to be exempt from future permits and inspections and self-certify themselves for some specified amount of time. A couple of the cities link their rental ordinance to a crime-free housing program with their police department. Most of them have some pretty wide differences in the appeals processes, and as you can see in one of the attachments in your staff report, the fees do vary quite significantly. In West Covina, when combined single-family homes, duplexes, and apartments with 3 units and more make up about 12,000 rental housing units. The City of West Covina currently has only 1 code enforcement officer as compared to 4 in the past. This is primarily due to past budgets and hiring freezes. This program could be used to fund additional code enforcement staff to carry out the program itself. The hopes would be to help eliminate blight, preserve the housing stock of the city, and help keep up property values. It should also be noted, just in West Covina, we also have a foreclosure ordinance, and homes and commercial buildings that are in foreclosure are already inspected and regulated under that ordinance. In theory, such an ordinance should be cost neutral, since all the fees collected should cover the cost of the program. Under Proposition 218 and Proposition 26, the program fees can only be used to fund the inspections and the administration of the program itself. It is possible, however, that not all of the costs of a program may be covered by the fees, such as certain appeals or city prosecutor time. The program can cover staffing and or contract inspectors. In addition, if staff are added, there would be costs for vehicles, fuel, supplies, and equipment. If a program is adopted with a self-certification program, the staffing levels and the full costs may not be determined until after the first round of inspections are done. At that point, the fees would actually have to be based on a fee study and be shown to be in compliance with Prop 218 and Prop 26. They would be brought back to the City Council as a public hearing for the adoption of the fees. Attachment 8 in your report shows some approximate fees and type of fee options that could be pursued. Next. The following are some of your options for consideration tonight. One would be to pursue a rental housing inspection program identical to Covina as requested by previous City Council. Another option would be to pursue a rental housing inspection program and give staff other specific direction towards that program. And another option would be to not pursue a housing inspection program at this time. If the City Council provides direction to proceed with enacting an ordinance, staff would recommend looking at including many of the following points: inspection of all single-family rentals and possibly apartments, inspection of the interior only, allow owners of units that pass the first round of inspections to self-certify for future years and avoid future permit fees, require properties that fail the first round of inspection to pay additional reinspection fees and be subject to future annual inspections and permit fees. obtain the services of a consultant to perform at least the first year's inspections, so we can then determine how many properties qualify for self-certification. I believe I have answered all of the questions also, or issues addressed by the speakers. If directed, an ordinance could be brought back to the City Council at a future time and adopted at a later meeting. With that, I'll ask if there's any questions.
City Council, any questions? Okay.
Well, I would like to speak in favor of my motion to reject this.
Any comments? I was going to say next. Councilman Spence.
I sort of fall in the category that I prefer that the city focus on people that are actually not complying with the law now, rather than making law-abiding people come up with more money for something they're already doing. And so if we need to come back as a council and talk about how we do code enforcement, code enhancement, and actually target the people in those pictures, that's one issue, and I'm willing to do that. But I have a problem instituting a new bureaucratic program that requires people to come up with more money and when they didn't do anything wrong. And I just think that we should go ahead and reject this idea and move forward and let the community know we're not going to do it. But we should deal with the code enforcement part of it perhaps at a different time so we can discuss that, how to do that better. But at this point, I'd like to reject the rental inspection fee and move forward.
Okay, any other comments? Councilman Warshaw.
Mr. Mayor, what was first presented at the meeting a few months ago, I think it was in December, I wasn't in favor of when I looked at it. The good part is it generated a lot of interest, and we see that tonight, a lot of you that were here. What was interesting, it seems to have only generated from the owners of multi-units, and it's quite understandable because what Covina has done is, in my opinion, charge an arm load. If you look at the conclusions and the recommendations of staff, I like a lot of these. In addition, I will make some recommendations of what I'd like to see. If you noticed, I think on an earlier slide, it talked about the crime-free housing program that West Covina has. I'm very familiar with it because when I was a volunteer with our police department, I conducted some of those inspections on some of the people that are here or were here. I went to your units because you decided you wanted to be a member of the crime-free housing element. Some of you passed, some of you didn't, for one reason or the other. My recommendation would be, because that is a lot more of an inspection than just driving by, that anyone who has passed the crime-free would not have an inspection at all, since it entails a lot more, and that's done every 1 to 2 years. In addition, I would like to see, since it's only a drive-by, it doesn't matter whether you have 1 unit or 100 units, as was mentioned multiple times. I'd like to see a fee for driving by. I'd like to find out how much a consultant would charge to do that so that you can set a fee based on cost of that. I would like to see a fee that if people don't pass, they're going to get a reinspection fee, and a reinspection fee requires that someone go out and look at the property. Again, we're not talking about going into rental units for this. There are, as mentioned, landlords that are doing that. If you're under HUD, the fire department, they're all doing that. That's not what this was for. So I don't want those people penalized. I like the idea that if you're not a member of crime-free housing, that you would pay an initial fee, a small amount for that first one, but then they're allowed to do reinspection as long as they had passed. So that's what I would be looking for in this ordinance.
Okay, any other comments? Councilmember Toma.
Yes. At this point, I am very reluctant to create a new program for a rental inspection program. It's
before we've even had our first budget, my first budget as a city council member. I know there's a chance that there would be some leakage into general fund fees and other costs, and I'm concerned about that. I think some people have made some good points about who would wind up paying for this program and whether that's a fair allocation. And so I would prefer to hold off and at this point without more information and without knowing how we fit into our general budget picture, because I think it will very possibly incur some other fees and expenses. I wouldn't be prepared to go forward. Now, if there's specific questions on particular issues about it, I may be open to looking into some of those questions, but I'm not prepared to go forward any sort of overall program to create this. I know there's a lot of work that staff went through, and it's something the prior city council had instructed you to do, and I think it was probably a lot of difficult work that you had to do, so I applaud you for the comprehensive information that you did. There's never going to be a program that you're going to have all the answers, because you can't predict the future. There's a lot of variables that go into it, so you're never going to be able to get 100% the information. But I'm very reluctant to go forward on a new program like this if there are some very specific questions that people think would be helpful. Then I would consider it. But in general, I think I'm for the stopping work on the program for now, and possibly after the budget, when we look at other options, we can think about it.
Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. I concur with Councilmember Toma in that we should table this for the moment. But this is our job that we're talking about, and we can't shirk it. We're going to have to figure out how to take care, and this includes the businesses, the homes, the multifamily units. There is a problem out there that we have to address. But more importantly, we do need to get through this budget situation absolutely first, because that's going to determine where we can go from there. And so my motion is to table this until after we complete our budget process, and then come back and review how we can address those photos. They don't lie. Each one is 1,000 words. And we do have to take care of it. But for now, I do want to table this, and I thank the staff for doing an excellent job of going out and getting how other cities handle the issue. And we're going to have to come up with our own, and hopefully we'll keep all the folks that are coming out here today to be involved, pay attention, so we can all get through this, do what we have to do, and do it in a fair manner. But we're going to have to handle it. We just can't handle it. We're not prepared to do it tonight. So I would motion that we table this, go through the budget, and then revisit how we're going to handle the blight situation. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Do you want to restate the motion?
My motion was to stop doing work on the rental inspection. Now I don't have it on. Is to reject the rental inspection fee and direct staff to do no further work on it.
And I seconded that motion. So without any other comment,
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Warshaw.
That is, I just want to make it clear, that's different than tabling it.
Right.
So I just want to make that clear to the rest of the council.
Yeah, maybe the staff can explain. Rejecting it, does that mean that voting in favor of the motion, does that mean that it can't, ever? What's that?
It can always come back.
Okay.
I believe that would be correct. You can bring these items back. I mean, I think Councilmember Spence said that if we want to have a discussion about code enforcement and the pictures, that can be brought back at another time. So I just think for right now, we're just not going forward. Staff's not going to do any more work on it until somebody brings it up again. So.
Yeah, Mr. Bear, maybe I can help you out a little bit. It simply is if he votes just not to do anything with it now, it could be brought back next week. It could be brought back any time. A motion to table it is brought back when any member of the council actually makes a motion to put it back on the table. If
if
you just
it's
take it off
to a
and
time
leave it,
certain.
if you just leave it to staff, they can bring it back anytime that they think it's appropriate also.
Yeah, okay. So we have the definition there. We have a motion by Councilmember Spence, second by Mayor Herford. All those in favor say aye. Aye? Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. So that's direction to staff. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to oral communications. We did have some speakers ask some questions. On the Corey Lytle statue, we're still investigating the insurance policy of Big League Dreams, and we will have some information when we get some information. I've asked for that to come back, so I don't think we have anything much on that. And there was a lot of comments on, let me see what else we got here. The graffiti removal, we had a request for that information, so you can city manager deal with that, is that correct? Yeah.
I can.
Oh, okay.
I can comment on that right now. I just had a brief conversation with the police chief as far as the request. I think it's important. Well, first of all, I give staff the ability to go back and look at this to see if there is any information that we can provide. So give me that opportunity. I believe that what you have is that we have Graffiti Tracker, which is electronic-based, tracking system used for investigation. So a lot of the information that they track is for investigative purposes, and therefore not public information. And that was part of the response that was provided by the city attorney through consultation with the police department. But we'll look at that to see if there's any information that the consultant's supposed to be providing us as far as where he, as far as the process in which he goes through. But the way it currently works is that he responds to complaints that are either filed on the graffiti hotline or provided to him from the police department. So and when he goes out there, he takes pictures and he provides that back to the police department for investigative purposes, because you have the police department looking at graffiti and gang-related graffiti, and they're kind of investigating based on that. But we'll look at the contract again to see if there's anything that he's supposed to be providing us with respect to a log. But we believe that currently is not in place, but give me a chance to look at that, and I'll be able to provide a better response on it.
Okay, yeah, I have no. Councilmember Spence?
What do you mean the log's not in place? I don't know what you mean.
We don't believe that he creates a log that he submits to the city saying this is where he visits and what he did.
Okay.
What we have is that he responds with a graffiti tracker by indicating places that he's gone based on that, and that's like electronic, process.
Right, I can understand why some of the graffiti tracker stuff or stuff the police is doing, I can understand why they may not want to have that as a public record. I get that. But usually documents, if they're provided from a contractor to the city, those are public documents unless there's a very, very, very good reason for them not to be, and I'm not sure that would qualify. And I'm not saying the speaker's correct about everything. I don't know what happened in 2012, or I don't know what's exactly in the contract. But, if we're provided some kind of minimal, or we're supposed to get documentation, usually that's a public record.
I absolutely agree, and that's why give me a chance to look into that and see what there is.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Warshaw.
Mr. Mayor, my understanding is that the tracking that is done by the graffiti removal company is they are required to take a picture of everything. And that's the way they are tracking it, is through Graffiti Tracker, which does go directly to the police department because it's a police department function with graffiti removal. Now, I guess the issue is whether all of that has to be confidential or not. And that's for our lawyers to decide, I think. But they are, I think, meeting the contract because they are giving us the information of where they've been.
Okay, thank you. We can get that information back to the city council, either Thursday memo or you can make a report at the next meeting. Let me say this. I do think that our graffiti cleanup program in the city is probably the best it's been since I've been on the city council. time that everything's cleaned up and the responses that I've seen are just excellent. So I think that when we set the contract, we gave instructions to the graffiti contractor, and I understand that he follows those. If there's something different, then I think we need to be alerted to that. But the graffiti tracker does have the picture, where it's located, GPS, the time of day you took the picture, so I don't think it's a question that somebody's not doing work. It's the documentation that goes. And Mr. Reynoso is in the industry. He's a graffiti contractor too, so they bid against each other, and he's a competitor, and I understand that he wants to scrutinize the contract, but from my perspective, it's being well maintained, and I know Councilmember Sykes is very involved in his neighborhood and calls numerous times on the phone, and the contractor responds. So I don't think anybody here could speak bad of the contractor at this point in time, but that's just my opinion. City Manager.
Yes, the speaker raised issue with item number 3, which is the Hernandez bill, and indicated that staff.
We'll deal with that when we get to item number 3, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, it's on their consent calendar. So
yeah, we'll pull it off.
Oh, you can pull it off? All right,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to try not to say anything, but yeah, you're right. I try to take a daily tour, 5-6 miles, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on how much time I have. And I'm not trying to speak, as you say, bad, but I will say we do have some room for improvement, especially from the pedestrian standpoint. Now, with that having been said, hopefully we'll get to a clear, concise explanation as to what the public can review from the contract, and eventually, hopefully, we will address the shortcomings in time. This is not the time to do it, but we do have some room for improvement. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no problem, and I wasn't trying to be critical. I know you do a good job in your neighborhood, and that's great. I think one of the things you have to think about too is the general public is also gang members, and they could come in and request, who's cleaning up my graffiti where. It's not an easy, situation, because contractors in the past have been shot at, and they are under scrutiny for cleaning somebody's tag up. So I think the report from the chief would be great. Thank you.
I was just going to suggest perhaps to address these issues, maybe we can provide some regular reports on graffiti and the amount that he's dealing with, and maybe that will help address some of the questions.
Yeah, I know that they do have those. So, okay.
So we can prepare a report that and provide that to the council as well as the public.
Okay, we'll move on to.
Mr. Sykes do some code enforcement when he's out?
He does. He does a lot of it.
Do that too?
Yeah.
Let me respond to that real brief. I have picked fruit in my life, so I'm not a purpose to hard work or work this manual labor. I'll do it. You pay me, I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay. We weren't going to pay you. That's the key right there.
Not a budget item.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Yeah, I'd like to have item 3 pulled. Any other items? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the item 3 pulled?
So moved.
Moved by Warshaw.
I'll second.
Second by Toma. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Yeah, I was just going to comment on item 3. I know that Mr. Redholz brought it up and another speaker. I hate to see local government is the best form of government. People like we had here tonight talking about a rental ordinance can come down and speak to us. If you take away the ability for a city to decide public safety issues, then you're being controlled by somebody in Sacramento or some other regional policing or fire safety service. And I think to make that decision, which is what this bill would do, is take it out of the city council's hands. I think we would be better serving our residents to let them have a voice in it, and either through an election process or through, and I don't think any city council would make a decision without some input from the public, but I just think that we shouldn't give up that authority that we have. So I would make a motion to, I guess we're sending a letter in opposition. Is that what we're doing on this? Yeah. So I'll make a motion to send a letter in opposition to Assembly Bill 1980 by Roger Hernandez. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll second that with a comment.
Sure.
I would pretty much agree with you. This is a local issue, not a state issue. The state's taken enough from localities. However, I would not be opposed to, at some point in time, looking in that. I think it's more than just public input to the city council. I think that any time that you take a look at changing something that is most of the city budget and that people pay for, which is public safety, police and fire, should be a vote of the people, not just the people that show up at city council meetings. So I would never be opposed to building our own ordinance that says it must be by a vote of the people.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second to oppose the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, move on to item number 5, the appointment of Human Resources Commissioner. First off, let me thank each of our applicants that came out tonight. You all look like you're well qualified for this position and would do a great job, and we appreciate you offering your services to the city. These are always difficult for the council to deal with because I could select any one of you, and I know you do a great job. So I'll open it up for discussion. Does anybody have any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, before you start, I just
Yeah.
want to indicate that there was a 5th applicant that did apply for this position, intended to be here tonight, but unfortunately was not able to. So I just want to convey that the fact that he's not here does not mean he's not interested, is that he just was unable. And I just wanted to let the council know in case he was someone that you wanted to consider.
I appreciate that. I forgot. That's Russell Gordon. So,
Mr. Mayor, I
Councilman
did
Warshaw.
receive a call from his wife, and he is in the hospital, and that's why he's not here tonight. But I did want to convey a little bit of what he was going to mention. He is a retired lawyer who all of his career basically worked in human resources, primarily workers' comp, on both sides of the issue, both defending cities, corporations, on workers' comp, and vice versa, defending applicants requesting workers' compensation.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, does anybody, I'm not sure how we want to do this. Perhaps we can have somebody throw out well, you know what, would you rather somebody nominate somebody, or we go through the list and those that get a second we'll take a vote on?
Mr. Mayor, I'll nominate.
Okay, go ahead. Councilman Warshaw.
I would nominate Russ Gordon.
Okay, do we have a second to that nomination? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'll second it. I mean, I'm kind of torn in this whole process because when I don't know the applicants all personally and stuff, and as I was reviewing them and seeing them here and stuff, I'm fine pretty much voting for, most of them. So like if another name was proposed, I might do that. So I'm kind of in an awkward slot, but I mean, I am familiar with what he's done on the Planning Commission, but I don't know him personally, but yeah, I'm fine with that.
Well, I mean, we're elected to make these decisions.
Right, I understand that, yeah.
Let me just say my 2 cents. I really like
Mayor, your microphone is on.
Sorry. I really like Joe Quezada, and I think her background and her education is really good. I like Jocelyn Blakey. She was Cal Poly graduate and has a BS degree in local government, and she's working for another city. And Trudy is retired and has probably a time to do this. And then Armida seemed very qualified, too. She's University of Laverne Public Administration. So I could go with any of those four. The only reason I wouldn't go with Russ, but I'm okay with Russ, is that Russ has served before on a planning commission for a long time. So that would be my only caveat with Russ. Okay? Councilmember Toma.
Yeah, thanks for starting off the comments. I mean, I basically agree with what other people are saying. I was actually very impressed with the credentials of all these people. I didn't know any of them beforehand. I had a chance to speak. I think I spoke to every one of them, and I was impressed over the phone or if I met them. Several have background in like public administration and management. A lot of them volunteered. Russ has been on the planning commission before. I do err on the, not err, I shouldn't say that. I lean towards bringing new people into the city. Russ has got a very impressive resume, but I want to see new people get involved as well, and that would be my only reason for choosing. I like Jocelyn also. I was impressed with her energy. This is Jocelyn Blakely. I was impressed with her energy on the phone. She's got a code enforcement background, which who knows, maybe that's helpful. She's got some supervision, and I was impressed by her energy and her attitude about ethics and working for a city and the importance and responsibility. She was a volunteer at the Galaxy Little League. She comes, I think. She's from a neighborhood that doesn't get involved a lot necessarily relative to some other parts, so I like that aspect also, and so that's where I'm leaning right now, although I do agree with the other comments that each one of these applicants is very well qualified.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
I was hoping that he would make a motion first. We have a motion on the table.
Can I have your microphone, please?
Okay, we have a motion on the table for the commissioner appointment, Russell L. Gordon, made by Sykes. I'm sorry. I'm Spence. I'm sorry. Worship.
Second by.
Yeah, just
Spence.
before you vote, it was in the staff report, but it says it requires at least 3 votes. Those 3 votes have to be affirmative votes. An abstention will not count as an affirmative vote. So you have to have 3 positive votes to.
There's nobody abstentioning here. So. Okay, thank you for that clarification. We have a motion. We have a second to nominate Russ Gordon to the Human Resources Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Maybe we do have abstentions. Okay, so that was a 2-1. Okay. Do we have another nomination? Yeah, Councilmember Toma.
For the reasons that I mentioned earlier, I was impressed with the brief time that I met Ms. Blakely, so I will move to nominate her for the position.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that. I really appreciate Councilmember Toma's insight into how this part of town that she comes from, to see her being involved, that to me is extremely important, because that's what we need. We need the whole city involved, and I definitely support that idea, her enthusiasm, and the fact that she has been volunteering in the community. And I want to reiterate, she's coming from a part of town that has not really truly been involved as it should. And I'm hoping with her youth and that type of locale would help bring more people involved, bring more people into the city to volunteer. Thank you.
Councilmember Spence.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think all these people are very qualified and can serve the city well. I kind of object to the notion that we have to pick people because of where they live. I don't have a problem with this particular nomination, but I'm not voting for someone because of where they happen to live within West Covina, because, we rejected districts for council members, and I reject districts for commissioners as well. I'm going to look for someone that can serve the entire city, regardless of what part of the city they chose to live in. Because I think people in the 91790 and the 91791 are just as good as the people in the 91792. We're all good, and we're all West Covina. And I think it's important that we treat all our nominees that way and not discriminate based on their zip code.
Okay, thank you.
If I may,
Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
It's not to say that I'll just use myself as an example. I come from the Shadow Park and Nogella's area of town. We have 7 different school districts that serve the community. And most of the board members and of those 7 districts probably know me by face and name, not just because that I'm on this council, but because I am involved. And those 7 different school districts cover the entire city. So just to say because of where you live that you can't represent the whole city, you know, that's not about that. Okay, it's about trying to get the entire city involved. We have 110,000 folks, and I'll repeat it again. We in this last election, less than 8,000 voted. Would you agree?
I don't know how many people voted.
Okay. The bottom line is,
how many people voted for me?
the bottom line is, this city would be a lot better off, and the democracy of West Covina would be a lot better off if we can get more people involved. And that's the bottom line. So I'm not just necessarily pushing just one part of town. I mention that because of what I have seen personally in not being involved. Certain parts of town are still not involved. It's not just the southern part. You can tell by the numbers. We need to bring them up, and I would like to do whatever we can to bring them up. And that's what I'm about, not just about just one part of town. It's the entire city. And at this point in time, we have somebody that happens to come from that part of town. We know they have a strong history of not voting. As a matter of fact, someone made my daughter very angry because they said, "Hey, what are you doing here? You guys don't vote." And when you start checking, we did have a problem in my community where we were not voting too well. And now we've been turning that around. You can see Elsie, Mrs. Messner's neighborhood, and that lady is here. She's fighting up a storm, you know, getting her point out. And we hope to bring other folks from all over to do the same, to work just as hard for this city. She's here on her own time, volunteering it without pay. And I hope to see a lot more of that. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Warshaw.
I wasn't going to comment, but I will. In some respects, I would have to agree with Councilmember Spence. The way I make a decision, probably because of my business background, that's 32 years of that. I make a business decision. When I make a business decision, I pick who I think is the best person for the job, not where they live. It's based on experience and what I think they can do. Frankly, I think any of these candidates, number one, I'm glad that they've all asked for the position. I think any of them can do it, but I always try to pick the best, so I just wanted people to understand how I make a decision.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just appreciate everybody, and we have a broad perspective of the city represented. Gaybar, Maple Grove, Trudy, I know you're on the south side too, and Jocelyn. So, you know, you're terrific people, and we hope that whichever ones aren't selected, I know you maybe kept your name in there for some other commissions, and I'm sure we're going to have some openings on those. So, with that, we have a motion and a second to nominate Jocelyn Blakely. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, that's a 3-0.
No, I'm fine with it. That's 4.
4? Okay, I'm sorry we got into that.
I'll make it unanimous.
5?
Yeah.
5-0? Okay, 5-0. So Jocelyn, thank you. You'll be appointed. I don't know if that's good or bad. So our commissioners do a lot of work, especially personnel or human resources, a lot of issues there. Ladies, want to thank you for coming out tonight. And I know we've got your applications. Keep it on file because I'm sure there's going to be some other openings. So, okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Councilmember Sykes Code Amendment to prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. Again, just like the issue of the rental situation, trying to work towards a quality of life and protecting the West Covina that we all moved here for, we know that a lot of states are rushing to enact this and put this this issue into effect, where people can use it pretty much like alcohol. But there's also the hidden factors that they're gearing up for too. There's training right now in Colorado for trying to discern when someone is driving under the influence of marijuana. So, and just like that's happening, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other costs that are going to be incurred by our country, by so many of us, mainly responding to the money. Now, I do know that marijuana does have its medical benefits, and I think the state presently is working on how to keep that confined and controlled to where it is mainly used for medical reasons and not as a ruse just to get high. And so I'm just hoping that I know that we do have to make way and have a place, and unless we can figure out another way to dispense it for medical use. But I do want us to prepare and be as cautious as we can to protect our quality of life and especially our children. I mean, it was mentioned earlier how I do, as a pedestrian, that's how I do travel around my part of town, and I have encountered our youth on their way to school smoking marijuana as well as other drugs. So they do have they have access at it and to it. And obviously some of them that I've seen they seem to have an addiction problem. And they haven't even finished high school. Some of them have been, one of them I know in particular, was suspended, lost his baseball activity, and now he's no longer even at the school where he originally was attending, because he was suspended. He was so involved with this situation. So he's going to lose the credits, and plus the whatever the baseball career could have brought for him. So I think this is a real issue that we need to look at and be careful about how we do implement this marijuana issue going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? Do we have a motion?
I don't know. At the last council meeting, I know I voted against the moratorium because we don't really need a moratorium because we don't issue licenses right now. But, realistically, this is something that is going to be coming our way as a city that we'd have to deal with, and I would prefer that we had an ordinance that once we do have to issue licenses because they are legal and they can't be prohibited, just like we can't prohibit adult establishments, that we have some kind of ordinance already in place, some scheme already in place that we know they're going to be limited to certain areas, that we won't grant business licenses to people that have histories of drug trafficking, those kinds of things that we can, put in place so that we know that as soon as something happens and they can be legalized, that we have a mechanism to deal with that. I think it's coming. Normally I wouldn't say, oh, let's think of all the businesses that might be legal and come up with an ordinance, but, let's regulate magic carpets and, that kind of stuff. But, the reality is this is something that I think is truly headed, our way as cities, and it's already hit other cities.
So would you be in favor of item number 2?
I think he's in favor of item number 5. Is that correct?
5?
Now I got to open it back up.
No, because that prohibits.
That prohibits, and it already is prohibited. But once the state of California or once something happens or a court says it's legal, whether we say it's prohibited or not, it's not going to matter. The reality is it's not going to matter. So,
item 2 says initiate a code amendment to direct staff to prepare and provide standards and restrictions for medical marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah, should they become legal?
Right. Okay.
But I think we want to be clear that we are not allowing it at the same time.
Well, that's why I just added that last part. Yeah, should they become legal?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, just so we're clear on the issue, the current case law in California allows a city to prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries through its zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I know. Right now it does. I see that changing, but
Yeah, I think we're trying to prepare for what's coming, but do you want to make that a motion, or what do you want to do?
yeah, I make a motion that we do number 2, should they be legalized?
I'll second that.
Wait, should they? Okay.
Should they become legal
Point of order,
business?
I think, because didn't you make a motion?
No, he
No, he
talked.
didn't.
Oh, you didn't.
I made
Okay.
a comment about.
Yeah, he made a comment that we should do something.
And that's what I was begging for us to do something, and he picked it up. That's good. I like it.
Okay. Did we have a second to your motion?
I second it.
Okay, second by Mayor Pro Tem Sykes. Councilmember Toma.
I have a question for clarification, maybe of the author of the motion. So are you saying that it would just be so that it's ready, but we wouldn't actually vote for the ordinance, or it would actually be written into the law such that it would apply only if, I see, okay, I understand.
And if I could interject, I think you're actually talking about number 5. Number 2 allows for, basically is directing staff to set up restrictions. Number 5 would ban them, and then would try to formulate something that would be in response to any federal government changes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just my comment is that 5 is the better alternative because it clearly prohibits them unless they become legalized. And it sets up standards in the meantime, but it's clear that they are prohibited currently.
So are you going to amend your motion?
And I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for item number 5. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Council member, any reports, any requests for information studies? I do have an adjournment. We are going to go back up to closed session, so we'll...
Yeah, what will happen, Mr. Mayor, is we will go upstairs for the closed session. We've already invited the public to speak before the initiation of the closed session. So we'll recess to closed session, and we will adjourn the city council meeting. I will give a report out of closed session, and it will be upstairs in the city manager's area.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn out of closed session. Let me do an adjournment for that.
Mr. Mayor, prior to the adjournment, I would like to make a report. I was appointed to Foothill Transportation, and we had a meeting last week. I just wanted to make the public aware of a couple of things. Foothill Transit has been doing a lot, just as the city has, to save energy. They do have electric buses now. They've been implementing them more and more. Not only does it save on gas, it stops a lot of the pollution. So I want to commend Foothill Transit on that. In addition, I noticed that our Public Works Director isn't still here, but there is a program, and I wasn't, oh, he's upstairs, so that's good. You don't need to come down. But there is a program where, I guess it's been in effect for over a year now, where there's some money available for updating or putting in bus stops, upgrading them from doing solar to power it, if you want to put some kind of advertising on it, to better enhancing the way it looks, protecting it from trash. And I think it's up to, I don't have my paperwork with me, I think it's up to $35,000 for a city. Now, the only caveat is whatever you do, you have to maintain it afterward, but it's not where you have to put in additional funds to do that. But I think it is something that we should be looking at. And supposedly something was sent to our Public Works Director this last week on it, because I did ask for that to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me make an adjournment that will happen after our closed session. Walt Martin, a 40-plus year resident of West Covina. He was a girls softball coach at Bishop Amat and Wilson High School. longtime teacher and coach at West Covina American, Walmarato, and West Covina girls softball, passed away. So we will adjourn his memory when we adjourn out of closed session. Okay, so we will